Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Mike Bummer, and I'm sitting here next to my friend and colleague, Dr. Armin Feldman, and we're so excited to bring you another episode of Car Crash Wednesdays. Now, if you haven't tuned in the past, I would encourage you to go back and watch some of our previous broadcasts, which should be under my events, or send me an email or pop a message in the message here today, and I will post that link. Also, I want to remind anyone as we're running through this report today, we're going to do it fast because we know your time is precious, and we're going to try to make this about a 10-minute Car Crash Wednesday today. And if you need any more information, or if you want to learn more about what Armin and I are doing with Physician Legal Consultants LLC, which is really exciting because we fill this medical consulting gap that our personal injury and med mal attorneys need. You can visit us at physicianshelpingattorneys.com, where we have a podcast with now I think 9 or 10 episodes, right, Armin? And
10 episodes. Yeah.
10
In
episodes.
fact, we just got a notice from our podcast host congratulating us on our 10th episode.
Excellent. Would you just want to say hello real quick and we'll jump into the case just because I've been doing all the talking here today?
No, I think you're doing a great job. Welcome, everyone. We hope you are enjoying Car Crash Wednesdays as much as we are.
Yeah, awesome. And this type of work is unique. It's affordable. It's quick. We really are not like your traditional medical expert. We are more like having a doc that you can call on speed dial whenever you need a causation report, which we're going to talk about today, a medical summary report for settlement demand because it's showing we increase case values, whether you need an expert referral, whatever it is, just email, call us, free. We'll talk. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how we can help. So you want to jump in, Armin?
Yeah, I think I would just add that. So we're working as medical consultants on legal cases instead of working as medical experts. Primarily, our work is on those approximately 9 out of 10 cases that you are negotiating and settling, although we do have services to help you at trial as well. But go ahead, Mike, jump in.
I think this case today we're going over fits perfectly for a PI attorney that this case is redacted. The names you're going to see are fake, they're made up. And it is a PI attorney who asked us to write a very specific causation report. Now, what is that? Maybe our attorneys aren't using specifically these types of reports, but what happened was his client had a known pre-existing condition. She was born with this Klippel Feil syndrome. I didn't know what this was. I'm going to be completely honest. When he asked us to do this, I didn't know what it was. And this Klippel Feil syndrome is a fusion, an unnatural fusion of the cervical spine, a few of the vertebrae. And she was in a low impact crash, 8 miles per hour, and she had a spine fracture. And he was getting pushback from the insurance adjuster that how could an 8 mile per hour car crash result in a spinal vertebral fracture?
Right. In fact, Mike, this would be what I would call a laydown, right? Is that a crash happens at 8 miles, low impact accident, crash happens at 8 miles an hour. And that was documented, I think, right? And
well, it was. And then they had a forensic engineer come in where I highlighted here that showed it was about 8 miles per hour based on the damage to the car.
Right. So I'm not telling our attorney viewers anything they don't know, but you can expect in an 8 mile crash, 8 mile an hour crash, that the adjuster, opposing counsel, opposing physicians are all going to say, well, it's certainly not possible that this kind of severe injury that eventually resulted in a surgical repair is due to this crash that only happened at 8 miles an hour. And that's why we were called in.
Yep. And this was pretty quick and easy. We actually turned around this report in under a week, and it only took a handful of hours of work. And let's just run through and show them exactly what we wrote. So this is a common structure for these shorter reports. This report's only 3 pages long. We were asked to look at the injuries as a result of this October 7th crash. And we do a brief history of events where, again, I highlighted that the forensic engineer indicated the vehicle is only traveling 8 miles per hour. She was rear-ended. She did hit her head on the car seat, but did not lose consciousness. She was taken to the ER and had an MRI of her spine. The MRI showed, and this is a quote, so again, we quote wherever we can the medical literature because we're not treating doctors. And given the history of this trauma, the MRI says lucency on CT as well, with edema swelling around the facet of that spine, that there should be fracture assumed. And it did in fact show that there was a fracture, and she ultimately, October to February, is about 5 months later, had a anterior cervical discectomy and fusion surgery, and was left with ongoing back pain, neck pain, and a big medical bill. So the crux of what we were able to do here is research Klippel-Feil syndrome, and if she was predisposed to having a significant vertebral fracture from a low speed crash or not. And it was amazing, Armin. When I jumped in and found the literature on this, I mean, I sent this attorney about 8 publications that all supported that, in fact, people with Klippel-Feil syndrome, secondary to low impact trauma, down here, ultimately required, this was a case report where a patient ultimately required cervical posterior decompression and spine fusion surgery after a low impact crash. And this was from 2020.
Right. So I think we have to emphasize that Klippel-Feil syndrome is not, unless you are a specialist in this area, this isn't something that most physicians would have at the tip of their tongue, at the top of their mind. So we both admitted that we were not familiar with this syndrome, but of course, this is what we do. You present us with a question or something in a case, and we'll go do the appropriate medical research and back up our opinions with evidence from the literature. This is what Mike did in this case, and found all kinds of literature to support the idea that this syndrome makes people susceptible to trauma and fractures in their spine. But go ahead, Mike.
Yep, and I used an analogy. This is something I added because I figured that on the other side, the adjuster may relate to thinking of a beaded necklace. Like I told you on our podcast episode, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and so she has beaded necklaces, and this Klippel-Feil syndrome is like those beads are fused together and they become brittle. And so this person does not respond the same way as you or I if we are in an 8-mile-per-hour rear end collision.
Right.
So I wanted to make that very clear to the adjuster. As part of this report, I also included this nifty little Google image that I found that shows this gap that does not exist in Klippel-Feil syndrome because they're fused. And then as part of the report, I addressed the mechanism of injury, that this whiplash injury, the spine forms an S-shaped curvature as that rear end collision occurs, and it happens very quickly. And again, more research. This is an article I use a lot from 2016, Dr. Avancic, where he talks about the mechanisms of injuries to cervical spines during a rear motor vehicle collision have been documented. He includes a lot of graphs in how these, for her, it was a facet injury in the facet joint, but that there are these discs and vertebral tissues that have been studied and shown that there's these strains.
Right. And I think the picture says 1,000 words in this case, right?
It really does.
Yeah.
And it's arming our attorneys with this so that whenever they go to bat for their client, that they have all the medical facts at their disposal. Right. And so then I went on, and this is the end of the report. Again, this was a really short one, Armin, but I made this statement. It's that abnormal motion that occurs within and between individual motion segments that can injure facets, discs, and ligaments. And it's these non-physiologic forces, which even at a very low speed of impact, explain the aggravation of her pre-existing Klippel-Feil syndrome and caused her vertebral facet fracture. I felt very comfortable giving this opinion. I included multiple other peer-reviewed publications. Again, this attorney wasn't looking for, they communicated with us and said, hey, we're not looking to spend a ton of money here. We just need a good causative opinion report to link these two things. And we said, of course, we can help you. And then we concluded within a reasonable degree of medical certainty that due to this crash, she suffered a whiplash injury to her head, neck, and cervical spine that aggravated congenital Klippel syndrome and caused and resulted in her neck pain, back pain, and headache. And tidied up. We sent it along. They were thrilled.
Yeah. So I have to, as I said in our podcast too, Mike, it reminds me of there's always a conundrum, right? There's always some issue when you have a low impact auto accident, an auto crash, and then that results in some kind of significant injury, significant problem, medical problem for the client. And it reminds me of cases of mild traumatic brain injury. Now, obviously, the lower the impact, just by the basis of physics, the less likely you're going to have serious injuries. But the interesting thing is that, for example, in mild traumatic brain injury, a certain segment of the population can have very significant problems even at low speeds. And so, in fact, I mentioned this article as a classic article by Castro and his group done in 1993 that shows the limit of harmlessness. In other words, they did this study and they found that in a certain segment of the population can have very significant mild traumatic brain injury at the speeds that are encountered in common carnival bumper car rides. And that really helps the attorney to prove up that case and specifically to prove up the causation of injuries.
That's what we include. I have a whole folders of these types of papers I use commonly, but I get excited when I find new ones too. And they're getting published every year. There's new good stuff coming out.
Right.
If you don't have anything else to add, I think it's a good point to just let our attorney listeners know if you want any more information. There's multiple pathways to contact us. You can drop a comment on this LinkedIn Live. You can email us at comments@physicianshelpingattorneys.com. Just check out our podcast. Go listen when you're doing a run, on the treadmill, drive to work. It's at physicianshelpingattorneys.com or on iTunes, Google Play, wherever we're published. We have, I think you said we just hit 10 episodes. We try to have fun with that. Those episodes are only 20 minutes long. Am I missing anything, Armin?
Yeah, of course, if you have a case, get a hold of us. Do you have our phone number you can put up, Mike?
You know what? I had to change the technology today, so I didn't have a pre-list of our phone number. So I apologize. They're going to have to email us today.
All right. So if you have a case, email us at comments@physicianshelpingattorneys.com.
Even if you just want to talk about something, we're what you're seeing here is our real world personalities. I know social media can be a scary place, but we're helping attorneys just like you every single day. And if you have anything you want to talk about, we're pretty certain we could help. And if we can't, we'll let you know.
Great.
All right, everyone, have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. We would like to thank you for tuning in to today's episode.
And we really want to help you to increase case value, save attorney time, and do it without breaking the bank.
We're really looking forward to 2024, and so go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified of any new episodes.
And we look forward to having you on the next episode.